Hi everyone, welcome back for those who have joined us before. Just thought there was some significant change in relation to some timing for JobKeeper that we got notified of this morning. So I thought it was imperative that we let everyone know about it. It just takes a little bit of pressure off actually, which is good for everyone. Especially those who make the alternate test, as I discussed last week. It now gives you more time to review your position and see, and I guess get some advice on whether you are eligible under the alternate test, and to make the payments to your employers. So significantly, what happened overnight, or late last night, late yesterday afternoon sometime, and as I say, got notification of it this morning. The ATO has extended out the time frame to make the payment to your employees. So if you recall, $1,500 a fortnight JobKeeper is what you need to pay your employees. Initially we had a deadline of 30 April, so that is Thursday this week. So, pardon me. Initially the ATO said you have until the 30th of April to essentially get all your nomination forms in and make the payment to all your employees. You know, it's been a pretty hectic period trying to get that done, but as I said, early today we got notification that the ATO have now extended that payment deadline to the 8th of May. So that's the 8th of May. So, you know, that will be Monday week, I think it is. Just let me check in my diary. I should have checked this beforehand, but I did not. I apologise. 8th of May, so Friday week. Friday week is now the deadline for making the payment. So, as I say, it gives you more time. And for those employers that are actually struggling to fund this, it actually helps as well. Understand the banks are meant to increase our OD facilities to facilitate. Not sure about you guys, but certainly from my perspective, dealing with the banks at the moment has been quite difficult. They're obviously, and I don't blame the bankers themselves, it's just simply the volume of inquiries on increasing OD facilities to pay for these JobKeeper payments. So it's quite difficult to fund it if you don't have that cash flow, and given so many businesses are down significantly, finding that cash flow without an increased lending facility can be quite difficult. So 8th of May is your new deadline to make the payment to your employers. Now, I said earlier that the ATO will start making payments around the 7th of May. So obviously, if you're later in registration and paying your staff, it will probably hold up your payment. It will come sometime after the 7th, but it will come sooner rather than later, and it just gives you more time. So this is a good thing for those who were, as I said last week, we're looking at that alternative test, because now we just have a bit more time to consider each client or consider your own business and work out if you're eligible under the alternate test. So 31st of May, 31st of May was the enrolment deadline. That got extended some time ago now. Now, enrolment, all that means is you have until the 31st of May to enrol in JobKeeper, okay? But 8th of May is the payment deadline of the JobKeeper payments. So, for example, if you've been paying all your staff their normal salary up until this point, which is over the $1,500 a fortnight, and you work out middle of May that you're eligible, then you can still apply for it and you can backdate it because you're paid over the $1,500 anyway. So none of your employees are out of pocket by the JobKeeper. So it does give you, for those employees that have got full-time staff still and are still paying them as per normal, it gives you more time. But for those who have stood down staff or maybe are paying them less hours, so they're under that $1,500 a fortnight, it gives you another week and a bit to make those payments to the staff. So it's an important thing. As I said, it's 8th of May is the deadline for the payments, and 31st of May to enrol. All right. Importantly, though, the next fortnight is 10th of May after the one we've just finished. So you still need to make sure that if you do pay on the 8th of May, your catch-ups, right through from 30th of March, you then got to make sure you pay again on the 10th of May, okay? So none of your fortnights change. You've still got to make those payments on the due date, and the 10th of May extension will not extend out as far as I'm aware. It could happen, but as far as I'm aware, it won't, and they've made it clear in the legislation at this stage that you will need to make that next fortnight payment on the 10th of May, all right? Again, you got any queries on that down the track or whatever, please give us a call or send us an email and we can assist you with that. So there are extensions on JobKeeper. There was one big area which I had a lot of calls from clients on, which basically they were a little bit, I guess, unsure about the legislation with school kids. When I say school kids, it's normally year 11, year 12 kids that were working in their business maybe every Saturday. So they've been with them for longer than 12 months. They're over 16. We're eligible for the $750 a week. Now, I agree that the legislation wasn't meant to be to capture those people, but it did. So I can say to you that on the 25th of April, so Anzac Day, that actually changed. So now it says for those teenagers, you're at least 16 years of age on the 1st of March 2020, with the exception of full-time students who are 17 years old and younger and who are not financially dependent, okay? So if you're in year 12, for example, and you're 17 and a half and you work 1 day a week with somebody and you live at home with your family, so you're not financially dependent, so you're not paying for yourself, then you are not eligible, okay? You are not eligible. So that's a big change in a lot of people's thinking, and I do understand business owners and their reluctance to, essentially who they were paying someone maybe $100, $120 a week before, they were going to get $750. So that's a good change that occurred by the government. So just to clarify again, if you've got school kids working for you, right? This is for school kids in year 9, 10, 11, or probably 10, 11, 12, who are over 16 but still at school. So they're 17 or 17 and a half, 17, 10 months, whatever. And they're not independent. So they are financially dependent on somebody else, then you don't need to include them in JobKeeper. All right. So that's a good change in legislation. And there was a few, as I said, there was a few inquiries I got on that one, and as I say, it just did not make sense. The other big area where there's a lot of mistakes in the moment, including myself, I'll be honest with you, I've made the mistake, is when you're processing payroll for this JobKeeper payment, leave entitlements. So if you recall, I said that if you've got someone on JobKeeper, whether they're working with you on limited hours or they're stood down and working, sitting at home, they accrue their annual leave, or all their leave entitlements. So annual leave, sick leave, and long service leave, they still accrue as if they were working full time for you. Now, depending on how you've got your payroll set up in your Mile, QuickBooks, or Xero, or anything else, it doesn't calculate correctly. So if you've got somebody working 20 hours a week, as an example, and you put 20 hours into your payroll system, I would say probably 80% of people's payrolls will calculate the entitlements at that 20 hours, not the 38 hours or 37 and a half or whatever it is that they work for you. So it's a little bit of a glitch in the system at the moment. You can change it behind the scenes. At this stage, the way I got around it was just manually overriding it per employee. But there are other ways of fixing the problem, and certainly everyone working here at TJL will be able to help you with that. Possibly not me. It's certainly not my area of expertise, is that processing the payroll. But give us a call and let us log on to your payroll system and have a look on how you've been doing it. But I guarantee you at least 50-60% of people will have their accruals wrong for their staff. And it's not your fault. It's just, we've had that many changes and it's just hard to monitor everything. So, those super and leave entitlements, you just need to make sure you get that right when you're processing your payroll. But as I say, I made the error processing payroll myself. So, and if you've got to go back and change your way you've done JobKeeper, the way you've done your payroll to incorporate JobKeeper, then that's messy again. And if you're reporting to the ATO straight away, which most people are now, you've got to basically delete that pay run and run a new one. So, as I say, it's a little bit complicated, but we're certainly there to help you. And phone the office 6554 9511 or email info@tjlbiz.com.au, and we will give you as much assistance as we possibly can. Now, the other thing I wanted to just clarify too is the alternative test. And I personally ran one for a client this morning, so this was an increase in revenue. Remember, I went through the 7 other tests. Now, this one's a significant increase in revenues. Now, if we just go back over what the alternative test was, the entity's turnover substantially increased by 50% or more in 12 months immediately before the applicable turnover test period. So if we use April as the turnover test period, then it's 12 months. So it's for the 12 months to March. So if you increase by 50% or more, you can possibly pass the test. 25% or more for the 6 months. So that's sort of October through to March. And 12.5% or more in the 3 months. So that's January through to March. All right. So in my example though, so this client, he reports on a cash basis to the ATO. So his GST reporting is cash. So that's not about his invoicing out. It's as he collects money in his bank account, or she. So during that quarter, the last year was about, I didn't add it up, I'm very, very sorry, but it was, so last year was 113.6 plus 168, was 397,000, right, for the quarter March 2019. So that's 1 January 2019 through to 31st of March 2019. They were 397,000. Now, for the quarter that we've just finished, their turnover was 473,000, okay? So they had an average increase over that quarter of 16%. Now, each month was quite different. Some were up, some were down in that 3-month period, but on average, they had a 16% increase. So 16% over 3 months, so it satisfies the third test, which is 12.5% or more in 3 months. So they were 16%, so it's much more than 12.5%. So they satisfy the criteria of an increase in turnover. So the next test they have to do is, what's the average of those 3 months? So their average of the 3 months is 157,500, all right? So that's what the average is. So as long as they're down by 30% or more in April, they'll satisfy the decrease in turnover. So this particular client has done just under 99,000 for April, okay? And we're pretty much done, so they have estimated to the month for me. So they're 37% down for April against their average for the 3 months. So guess what? They satisfy the test. They can apply for JobKeeper, and their business is actually gradually going to get worse over the next couple of months just because of the nature of that particular business. So they'll satisfy that test. So here we were today racing, well this morning anyway, I was racing around just checking payroll for them to work out what they needed to remit to their staff on that JobKeeper, the $1,500 payments, because about 6 of the staff, I think it was, have been stood down about 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago now, I forget. But now, you know, the timeline has been released because they got till next Friday to fix that up. But they satisfy that test, you know, it's, and there's many a business, I would say, in the last 3 or 4 days, we've probably discovered at least about a dozen clients in our group, and there's still more to go through, that satisfy that new test, the alternative test, and that's increasing revenues or new business starting or taking over a business or purchasing another part of the business or whatever it may be. So as I said last week, you'll find that there's more and more businesses that will satisfy these tests, and some will, as I said, April may not be a big hit, but May will be even bigger for them. So please get in contact with us, get some advice, because advice is important. As I said last week, the social media is going crazy in relation to everyone making their own opinions up on what they should and shouldn't do. But reality is, come and see people who are experts in this, who spend our last 6 weeks of our lives going through this this legislation and understanding it to make sure we can give the best advice to our clients. So today was a bit short, but I really wanted to clarify that extension because it's a big thing and it gives more time for everyone. So just a reminder, you don't need to make, if you're rushing around trying to get payments done by Thursday this week, you can hold fire. You've got until 8th of May to make your payments, and you've got till 31 May to apply for it. So please think about that, and if you're unsure and just want a second opinion, I've got to say that we've had some of our team around here that have got second opinions from us, or vice versa, because you look at something and go, okay, can you just run your eyes over it again to make sure I haven't missed anything? Because it's important you read the legislation with what's happening in that particular business, and every business is very, very different. So look, that's all I'm going to say today. Thanks for jumping in, and I hope that everything's getting a bit easier and clearer. It looks like we're starting to come out of some of our lockdowns, which is awesome. Hopefully we can get a bit more release in the coming week or so and start to get back to some normality. I'm not sure of everyone else, but it'll be fantastic to go out for dinner at a restaurant again and have someone else cook for us. Even though you get takeaway, and takeaway's awesome, but it's not quite the same. So listen, I hope everyone has a good evening, and I'll come back to you when we need to on any other further updates on changes of legislation as they occur. Thank you very much.